All righty, Mr. Joshua, we
Yes,
got you
sir.
on the
Yes, sir.
call. We had to do some rescheduling. We finally got linked up, but I'm excited to have you here, man. I'm going to start out by the reason why I got you here. So, a while back, you made a post back in January, and I'm not sure how I let that slip. Usually, I'm on these posts, man. And when I see something cool like this pop up about a big deal, I typically want to get on that as quick as possible and hear it right from you. So, right from the source. So, I'm going to go ahead and read it. I'll overlay it here on the screen when in post here, but the post starts out as $61,644.24 net profit on a rehash on a liens list. We'll get into what that rehash is in the liens list in a second, but he added, I want to give a quick overview and give thanks for an opportunity to help a seller. I was able to ultimately generate a solid month to start off the year. This was posted on January 22nd. So yeah, definitely a good start to the year. Shout out RJ and Titanium University for the closers formula to get this deal locked up virtually on the first call. And thank you, Tyler, and the RISF community for illuminating the importance of list tracking, rehashes, and who we are not reaching. Liens have always been a high performing list, but I wanted to get more out of the finite number of records in my market. Situations change with time, and vexations can accelerate that rate of change. And then you listed some of the key parts of the deal: 15-year ownership, liens, code violations, tenant occupied, health issues, senior owner. So big list stack on that. And then you went over the numbers. So if you could take it away from here, man, and kind of just give us the rundown of how that marketing campaign came about, this rehash campaign, kind of explain your process with that, and we'll break it down.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so with the seller and the situation, of course, I told you it was a lean focused list. Funny enough, I had this prospect in my system all the way since February 2024. So that was the first time I marketed to him, but we had no response. So in between that time and December, I went through a change in my account settings. I primarily do direct to seller marketing, leveraging SMS marketing. So what we changed up was sending follow-up texts if the initial response doesn't receive a reply.
Okay.
And we employ the same marketing method, but we had that follow-up message. And the same thing happened as it did, last time. So we sent out that message on December 12th,
Okay.
no response. And then the follow-up ensued on December 13th at the same time. And then he responded, letting me know that he was interested. So I feel like that was the biggest thing, as well as just rehashing it. I know a lot of people would just say, okay, they didn't respond. Let's get some more data. Let's just run back the race. But I feel like doing that rehash combined with sending that follow-up text really helped. So I
Okay.
just moved with urgency and we got him on the phone. And that's why I jumped into my process.
Okay. So this rehash campaign was strictly a liens list rehash, or was it just like, are you only pulling liens right now, or?
So I'm pulling a lot of different vexations.
Okay.
Over time, they kind of stack on each other as
Right.
I guess progress. But for this one, I was just focused on all liens. There was a
Okay.
lot of vexations on this property or with this seller that I didn't know until I started peeling back the layers as far as, figure out why he wanted to sell, getting into, what's been going on and how long it's been going on for, and ultimately being able to provide solutions.
Okay.
See where I can
So
help.
you're trying to get in there. You're trying to find something that has a lien that's or multiple liens that gets up towards general purchase price and just cover the liens, give them a little extra cash, and let them move on. That's kind of your style. Why do you think that style has worked for you? Is it the way you talk to these people? Because some people say when they do probates, it's because they are generally a little more empathetic. Or what do you think it is about liens for you that makes it not necessarily easy isn't the right word, but something that you're comfortable with tackling that challenge?
To be honest, I guess it's the way that there's really like no magic to it. I guess the way that I
Okay.
break it down, I kind of take it from the viewpoint like you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of times
Okay.
sellers not realize that you don't need to bring money to closing to handle the lien before you sell it or sell off the
Okay.
property. So I take my time in explaining that as well as setting like proper expectations as far as uh how I could provide like a benefit or help
Okay.
them solve their problem and what
Okay.
that would look like moving forward. And sometimes it aligns with what they truly want, and sometimes it doesn't. It really depends upon like what they want ultimately. and
Right.
yeah, how they receive it. So I feel like that's kind of
Okay.
my
And
stance.
when you do these, are you finding that you are typically shedding light on the situation for them, like they didn't know they had the liens, or
Mhm.
is it how common is that?
No, that's a great point actually. Yeah, so a lot of times they may know that they do have a lien, depending upon like how
Okay.
late I'm getting to them. Sometimes the liens took place in 2013. Sometimes they took
Okay.
place like last year. I feel like the biggest part of ambiguity is probably the exact amount. Like, what is the payoff? And that can be daunting for some people. Like, even
Sure.
going down the path and seeing what that payoff is.
Sure.
So that's where I step in. I email the municipality, get an exact payoff, and go from there. Kind of part of like setting the expectations as far as what you're going to be walking away with at the end of the day.
Okay, so you going into it, you're able to find beforehand what the lien is and what the cost is just by calling who?
All right, yeah. So by emailing the municipality, so like the township,
Okay.
um, from there you should receive like an email of like the exact payoff amount. Now that's tied into like anything that's related with the township, so like sewer, water, taxes, trash out, board ups, vacant fees, code violation fees, anything like that. You'll be able to receive that if you just email the township on what the payoff would be to purchase property.
And that's a pretty straightforward process. They don't like give you a hard time. You're just like, hey, I'm looking to purchase this house. I see there's a lien regarding something. I'm not sure exactly what is it. What's it cost, or is that the general conversation?
So it's real interesting. I mean, at least in Jersey, it's really township by township. Certain townships are more, I guess, anal than others as far as
Okay.
like who's in the information. Um, but I mean, the way that I try to position it is, for one, if I know like what I'm dealing with, I can alleviate the debt. So you're getting your money as a township, you know what I mean, and try to position it as, we're under contract to purchase this property. Because ultimately, the title company is going to do the same thing. They got to request the payoffs, within their process to clear title and to make it insurable for the next owner.
Right.
I just kind of jumped the gun and just let them know that, I'm taking on a similar process. I'm already under contract to purchase the property or soon to be under contract to purchase the property.
Ah,
Essentially, that we know this information and make sure that the deal makes sense and we're able to move forward and ultimately, solve these issues.
so just by being a real buyer, you let them know, like, hey, I'm actually going to be buying this property most likely. If it does go through, I need to clear these regardless, just whether if it was me clearing it or the current owner. Okay.
Yeah.
So you contracted at 100
Hmm.
and you just wholesaled, correct?
Yeah. Just
Okay.
wholesale.
So you got in at 100. What was the liens? What was the lien total?
Lien total. I don't remember. I don't remember the specific lien amount off top. It's funny because this one had liens, but from what I was seeing, like through PropStream and what I was seeing from like what I requested, there was like certain things that were off, like as far as
Sure.
like what debts were tied to what. But I do remember that there was a VA loan on the
Okay.
property. Yeah,
Okay.
there was a loan on the property though.
Okay. So it was 15 years ownership, VA loan. So it was relatively, I mean, it was high equity for sure.
Yeah.
But it was enough to where with the stack of the violations and the okay. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so what else should we know about this? When you got them up on the follow-up, you got them on the rehash.
Yeah.
Now, this said you were virtual, so is this your first virtual deal?
First virtual. This is like my second, second, and I use virtual loosely because I
Sure.
only seen the property like once.
Okay.
So where I'm at in Jersey is about like an hour drive from me.
Okay.
By the time I went and seen the property, I already had everything like assigned. So I was just checking
Dang.
it just, yeah, just to get some like last minute photos just to check it out in person. But yeah,
So yeah, that
that
was virtual. You already had it assigned on the way there.
Yeah, literally. I
Okay.
think actually, no, I don't want to misspeak. So I actually
Okay.
met my player over there. He drove past it. We chatted a little bit. And he was like, "Yeah, this is good." And then that's when I got to speak with like the tenant and just letting him know, setting up expectations with them as far as next steps if they need any help. You know what I mean? I work closely with realtors X, Y, Z.
Okay. That's okay. That's pretty cool. and this was your second one. So what was the
Mhm.
biggest differences between the first and the second? How are you able to adapt and make it a more efficient process? What would you suggest?
Um, man,
Because
I would.
let me add a little bit to that. I think, when someone says, "Yeah, I do dozens of virtual deals,"
Mhm.
the there's a diminishing amount of value gain to the person as they're going because they've done so many, they're probably picking up on real small things. But the
Yeah.
difference between that first one to the second one,
Mhm.
that first one, you're probably like, oh shit, like I screwed this up, I screwed this up, and you
Mhm.
were able to probably plug those. Was there anything noticeable like that?
Um, man, I don't know if it's just like my luck, but the biggest things with this one was just the variability of the tenant. Like I didn't know the tenant's temperament. I didn't know his mentality. I just know that he wasn't open to communicating. You know what I mean? I
Oh,
try to call him. Yeah, I try to call him. That's honestly the main reason why I went up there to speak with the tenant too, because I know it was a big property. It's a 4 bedroom, 2 bath, I think. So, I know there's a family in there and I'm just trying to communicate with him. I called him every day, like literally every day for like a week straight, while sending out mail with my
damn.
contact, and I heard nothing back. And then past a certain point, the seller ghosted me too. And I'm like, all right, hold on, wait, what's going on? I'm like, we're under contract. So I drove up there, and I think it's very important whenever you're dealing with anybody that's inside the property, as scary it may be or daunting, I feel like it's very important that you make contact with whoever's in there, at least like try to introduce yourself, try to say hello, you know what I mean? At least try to create that connection, because worst case scenario, they say, get the hell out of here, get off my porch, or I don't want to talk to you, X, Y, and Z. Then you can carry by to like the more civil route. But the more you can keep it cordial and keep it like on like a relationship basis and try to smooth it out, it's ultimately going to take less time too. And I feel like if I went about it, try to evict them, I may have gotten a higher assignment fee, but I mean, I didn't really want to go through that process because of the time cost, just as well as like an eviction like really stains the record too. So um, that's what I try to do. I just try to get in contact with them. And funny enough, the seller was ghosting me because communications exclusively between the seller and the tenant. So I got to figure out like what was going on the back end, and I was able to remediate that. This was like an emotional roller coaster. This deal.
Dude, divulge. What was going on?
Yeah. So so on the way to check out to the property, I let my buyer know that I was on the way. My buyer moves quick too. If he knows
Word.
I have a deal in the pipeline, he knows it's gonna be a good one. So he pulled up on me at the same time that I pulled up, on the property to check it
Right.
out. He drove past it. He was like, "Yeah, I want it." I was like, "Cool." I spoke with the tenant. I'm like, "Yeah." So like, what has the seller been telling you? And he was telling me like, he let him know that he's thinking about selling it X, Y, and Z, but he hasn't signed anything. And I was like, "We're actually under contract to purchase this property, so I'm kind of confused here." He was like, "Oh, really? X, Y, and Z. Let me speak to the seller again." And then on the way back from the property, like back to me driving home, I got a call from the seller, and the seller basically let me know. He was like, I don't know how I feel about the deal anymore, and things along that nature. And
Uh-oh.
but it was an underlying objection though.
Yeah.
So that was really like a smokescreen. I feel like what I could have done better on the initial call is kind of build more rapport up.
Okay.
But ultimately, he was feeling uneasy about the deal because of this is like a real interesting objection. This is the only time I ever had this happen. Due to the due to the wishes of his deceased spouse before she passed. So before she passed, the spouse wanted him to sell the property to the current tenants that were in place. Um, like if she were to pass. So I heard the whole entire story and we're speaking it over and things on that nature. But mind you, the tenants haven't been paying for like months to years. You know what I mean? So at this point, the dude is just bleeding out. He's still having to come out of pocket. I think that's what the bills were for. Actually, the liens. Now I'm thinking about it. It was for like rent and
Dang.
sewer. So I'm speaking to him. I think the wife passed like five years, 5 years or 2 years, something like that. And the tenants had been in place, just saying that we're gonna get our stuff together. We're gonna purchase a property and qualify in X, Y, and Z. And whole entire time the property is dilapidated. You know what I mean? Like I didn't see too much of the inside, but I could tell there's some work, deferred maintenance as people call it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was speaking with the seller, and I literally just let him just pour his heart out. You know what I mean? Just kind of just empathizing with him, just trying to figure out like, okay, like on day one, you were so ready to just get this off. You know what I mean? You were letting me know like you're tired of the property, you don't want to deal with it anymore, and now you're having second thoughts. And I just kind of brought the reality of the situation to him. I'm like, look, the tenants are letting you know that later this year, they'll be in a position to qualify for another VA loan or something
Yep.
like that to be able to purchase the property. But they've been giving you the whole song and dance now for a few years. Like it's literally been a couple years since your wife has passed. My condolences. So what is the likelihood that they're gonna pull the same thing again? Like, do
Right.
you really want to sit through that for another year? And all while this is going on, he also has like heart complications too. So like with the heart and like with stress and things like that, he's worried about like if he were to pass, then if his daughter
Yeah.
were to predate it and his daughter would have to take on this liability ultimately. So I just let him know the reality of the situation. I was like, look, we could work out, a few terms and change up a few things, but I'm just letting you know, like we are under contract to purchase it, but also think about, the future, what it's going to look like if you don't go forward with, selling the property. And he was like, okay. He hung up the phone. And I think it was like 5 to 10 minutes later. During this five to
Yeah.
10 minutes, I was stressing
Yep.
so crazy, bro.
You
Like I was sweating.
stressing?
Yeah, it's like my biggest deal at the time. But I'm like,
Oh,
damn, like my buyer already pulled up. He drove an hour. I'm like, damn, I'm
yeah.
gonna look crazy. But I understand deals fall out sometimes. But then he calls me back and he says like the last thing that that I thought he was gonna say. He was like, you know what, Josh? You know what? Let's do the deal. I was like, all right, for sure. Let's do it. We could do it. We could do it. But he told me ultimately what drove him over the edge was he spoke with his daughter, and his daughter co-signed my logic behind the situation. So
Ah,
yeah, the daughter was like, Dad, like you've been dealing with these people now. I know mom passed X, Y, and Z, but they haven't like you did everything to hold up to mom's side of the word, but they haven't done everything to hold up to their side of
yep.
the word as far as being in position to,
Yeah.
qualify for mortgage and things on that nature. So I think it's best that you just sell it basically. And yeah, he gave me a call back and that was just history. And then yeah, we just probably
Dang. Yeah, you definitely you you definitely laid out the situation for him as best as you could. And yeah, that's perfect that she laid it out the same way. But that's the truth. I mean, it was honest. You were being authentic, and it was like, dude, it's gonna get uglier if you don't do it now. Yeah. Wow, that's really cool, man. Um, I was curious, could you show us how you run your rehash campaign? Was it like an end of the month thing? Were you just randomly remembered like, yo, I probably should go back through some of these old things? Like, what was kind of the feeling when you did that campaign that day, 5 months ago? I need you to remember every detail.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, a big thing that really ties into my rehashes is getting the most out of my data, right?
Right, right.
So, I mean, it's cool if I click into it, right?
Yeah, do your thing, man.
Yeah, so like a lot of times it's a real like it's a song and dance between like my REI sift and like my go high level.
Uh-huh.
So
Yep.
I know once I skip trace one record, it's gonna give me anywhere between like 1 to 3 mobiles,
Okay.
depending upon a lot of factors. But a lot of times, somebody may not reply to that initial message, like I said earlier. So just maximizing my contact rate. So I'll go into the records or I'll do like an overview filter search
Okay.
as far as records that have a mobile number that, have either no status or that haven't responded or, things along that nature. And that's what I really like to target within my rehashes. So I like to stack that with if they have a lien on them, just because I keep
Okay.
a record of all the leads that come in. And a lot of them, have that lien tag added to them,
Yep.
at certain points.
So
So
no contact. You haven't like you've gone through this list prior. You could see they were dead numbers, no answers, and you
mhm,
haven't ever gotten in contact with this person, and
exactly.
they have a lien. So that's what you went back. You filtered through your data to gather a list of people that fit those criteria, and then you just started going through. And then this is that property.
No, no, no. The property is actually this one. It was
Hot.
fun. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Run us through it.
Like to the activity log?
Yeah. Let's do a little bit of that. That'd be cool.
Gotcha.
When did it start? Long prior.
Many moons ago.
This is a rehash for sure. Holy cow. Uploaded date. Yeah.
Yep, May
May
24th.
24th.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
then
so funny
January
enough.
22nd, you posted that post. So you must have probably got the deal the day prior, a couple days prior. Nice.
Yeah, so is this just goes to show like, and that's another thing too. There's so many like little gems that if you just listen to these episodes and just listen to Ari said, like you can't unhear it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like anytime I just want to say F it, I want to pull a list of 10,000, just go back to my old ways. I gotta remember there's so many deals already sitting in your account from people that you haven't
yeah,
contacted, that you haven't already gotten contact with. So like really
true.
think about that before you drop that next $500,000, 2,000 on a whole new set of
Yeah,
data.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I uploaded it May 24th, 2024. It was from PropStream actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so from PropStream, but I uploaded into the system May 24th, 2024, but I've been marketing to this since February on my other platform. So I had my other platform before I had SIF,
Yeah.
you know. So with that being said, I went through a period where I was just uploading all the data from my Go High level into SIF
Sure.
just to have a base point as far
Yep.
as okay, now I could reference what has happened with this data, but there may have been some stuff that wasn't recorded prior to then. But
Sure.
even though I uploaded this in May, you know what I mean, I was still able to look back at it and target it because I understood that I never made contact with the owner.
Yeah.
Like he didn't respond until that message I sent out December 12th.
And yep. Updated property, SMS attempts, updated.
Adding tags.
Oh, are you using Dataflick?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Sanitation charges.
Okay. Nice. What's that mean? Sanitation charges. Like like
To
sewer?
be honest with you, that's just what I assume it is. Like sewer, like
Huh.
something to do with like the sewer and water.
Okay.
But it's weird because certain municipalities will have it listed like sewer and water. So
Yep.
I wish I
Okay.
could give you a more clear cut definition. I'm sorry.
Oh, good. Yeah. Got your correct number. Boom.
Oh yeah. This is
December
it.
16th. Seller has to rent to own arrangement. Seller is now considering selling the property to someone else, given that the tenants have not been able to secure financing. Yep. Dang. Yeah, now it's starting to get hot too. Like you're probably getting excited. You're like, oh crap, I might get something. Okay, you started
Yeah,
writing your notes, your projections.
the numbers and all that. Oh shoot.
No worries. Dang. Hot lead. He's like, it's going down.
Yo, right. When I put that hot in, I was
Yep.
turned
Here's
up.
your follow-ups, all of your follow-up tasks. You can see he's being told he comes into the SIFT account. It's telling him he's got to follow up, and you were following
Right.
up daily, like you said. Boom, under contract.
And this is like as I'm like learning more about the property, like pre-probate, deceased owners, because the wife had passed.
Dang. That's cool, man. This is data. This is old data from your old way of doing things, uploaded
Yeah.
over, retargeted, and pulled the deal.
Septic stuff. That's like what my buyer really cared about.
Yep.
Um,
Uh-oh,
yeah, this is
ghosting.
the
That's
part
where
where
you
he's
start getting
ghosting.
scared. Get a hot flash.
Right. I'm like, what's going on? To go from hot to ghosting is a very drastic change.
Yeah. Boom.
And then yeah, January 22nd to close.
Clear to
Uh,
close. Here, show us your stiff line board real quick. The blur
line board.
feature will cover everything.
Gotcha.
Um, you're go into SIF line, left side. Are you using SIF line or are you using the filters? Some people do. I just
So
assumed
honestly, I
you.
really use the filters primarily. I have the Sifline board set up, but it's really like here and there. You can still check it out if you want to see it.
Sure, why not? Yeah, I always like how some people use the filters and some people use SIF line. Oh, what's that?
I'm not sure. I think he glitched out.
Hey, we might have found a bug live, folks. Have to hit up our developers. Yeah,
Yeah.
see,
So
yeah, it still populates. It's not that you necessarily. So, okay, so this is your lead to close. So this is your call attempt, new leads. So that was, I guess, was in your acquisitions board. Is that clear to close, right? I
the clear close board.
think that'd be in your.
No, no, I think that was the lead to
Is
close.
that
Either that or the dispositions. Title issues, clear to
clear to
close.
close? Okay, yeah. So
Yeah, everything's like
cool.
so spread out. I'm not.
It's
I don't
not
really
spread
work
out,
on
dude.
them.
You're pretty dang organized. I can tell you're
Oh, really?
organized. Yeah,
Maybe
I
I
think
just
it's
need to
yeah.
utilize it better then. Yeah.
You're organized because you're able to take a ginormous uh, amount of data and turn it into a little sect of data and then find money in it. So I mean, closed right there, 111. There you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, for sure.
So I appreciate you showing us that. Not every investor necessarily loves showing the inside of their CRM like that, but luckily the blur feature helps out a little bit.
Yeah.
So okay, so you closed that deal in January. We're in May now. It's May 22nd, time of this recording. What has gone on since then? Have you been able to maintain some momentum? Have you
Yeah.
struggled? Have you improved? What's it been like for you? Has any gotten more deals? Anything to
Yeah.
note?
Yeah. So since then, it's really been like an up and down year.
Yeah,
That's easily like the best January that I had probably, in company
nice.
history. But a few other deals transpired since then. Definitely not super huge, real
Yep.
rocky. So sometimes like with liens, that's like the double-edged sword, right? So
Okay.
sometimes there'll be some back end fees or back end payoffs that just kind of kill the whole deal.
Sure.
And I guess my luck with that hasn't been so well. But
Okay.
at the same time, I kind of been leaning into so I had a decision to make as far as like the beginning of this year on whether to
Okay.
onboard a person or to kind of see, how much I could do with like AI and kind of leverage AI with like the conversations and things on that nature. So I think I've spent like a good, past quarter building out my AI. So I've kind of scaled back as far as the amount of marketing that I was doing, kind of slowing down to speed up. So ultimately, I could scale a little bit more with that. And
Okay.
it's been good though. It's been good as far as the time that I put into like what I've been getting out of it. Um, fun fact, my parents are realtors, so sometimes I send them some things that they could
Oh,
list.
sweet, dude.
So we've gotten a few listings just from tracking the data and just leveraging the AI right now. But as far as like deep like cash offers for like high amounts of equity and things on that nature, haven't really had a deal like a wholesale deal on the table in a little while. But yeah, I mean we're locking in, just refining the process, and I'm really excited for actually this next
Good.
quarter because I feel like I'm at a turning point. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's been good though. I can't complain.
Good, man. Yeah, and like I said, when I reached out to you, you were saying, you you thought you had to be somebody to have these kinds of interviews, and to me, you are somebody, man. Like that's an amazing deal, and you worked hard for it, and you worked smart for it, and I mean, you have the reps. I mean, these types of things are going to keep working out for you. You're the type of person that you're in the community, you're in the calls. I believe you're in the war community, right?
No, I'm not, but I
Is that
did go
you?
to the in-person event. It was amazing.
Okay, it was the event. Okay, so I saw you went to that event. You're doing the things, you're hanging out with the right people, you're doing the steps, you're gonna be one of the guys soon that's just blowing up, and you got the
But
work
yeah,
ethic. So
yeah,
um with next quarter coming up, what are we in Q2 right now?
yeah, we're in Q2,
I'd
going
like
into
to
Q2
see where you're at because I think, at the end of the year, you're probably gonna be crushing. Um,
for sure.
so that'll be fun to keep up with you, man.
For sure. Mason, can I say something?
What's up?
Um, and I don't know who's watching this. Nobody told me to say anything, but can I shed light like on just like the importance of just tuning in and just like
Sure.
listening to like the little gems and
Yeah,
stuff
do your
like that?
thing.
Like I think I've been with SIF now since March of last year. So like little over a year. And the things that I've learned, it's like once you learn it, you'll never forget it. Like I know for a fact the things that I've learned from you guys, like it just makes sense, and I've really never heard it anywhere else as far as marketing goes. Like I don't know if it's fundamental or I don't know how you guys like put it together, but from the list targets, why they work, just figure out why things work in your business. I feel like has provided me a lot of confidence in sitting like for example like tracking wrong numbers. Something as
Yeah.
like small as that could be the difference between you spending like 500 and skip tracing or like 2000, you know what I mean? Rerunning old like rehashes, you're not tracking your
Yeah.
data, you're really just burning through your marketing spend. And I feel like that's why relative to what my business is able to produce to what I spend, there's like a large disparity. You know what I mean? I don't have a crazy marketing budget month to month. You know what I mean? So compared to what like my business produces, and I really gotta give thanks and show gratitude for just tuning into like what you guys say. Like it's real, you know what I mean? The gems are definitely there because they compound. You know what I mean? You take something like tracking like wrong numbers to
Yeah.
who you're getting in contact with to
Right.
the rehashes to tracking, you know,
Mhm.
if you've already pulled the data, if you haven't, all right, what data are you focusing on? How many
Yeah.
attempts have we attempted? What has worked? What hasn't? Like it's even like labeling the files, man. Like I don't know how
Yeah.
I was doing it before. I think I was just like recycling unknowingly like a whole bunch of data, just burning
Yeah.
thousands. So I just gotta say
Probably.
thanks for that for sure.
That's awesome, man. It's awesome that it's fun when we put stuff out and people actually receive it because a lot of people don't receive it and then we see them on our cancellation side of things,
Yeah.
saying things that aren't necessarily true about us. And that's the tough side. And that's just the game you play when you're in the software space. So when we get people like you that have good things to say and just actually implement, it's really, it feels good.
Mm,
Um, and it feels good to be able to make business ownership accessible to more people through data-driven decision making. That's a big thing with us, and you're in the community, like the littlest, not necessarily fun, cute, sexy things can really make a big difference. And for someone like you got a big deal. You're still able to keep your business going, have a roof over your head because you're making good marketing decisions. And that makes us feel really good. That's a win for us. So
hell yeah.
I appreciate your time, man. Thank you. And we're going to have to get you back on another call probably in 6, 7 months and just kind of see where you're at. Maybe wrap up the year and just see what's up with you and how it went. And if it goes great, that's what I'm expecting. If it didn't go so
Let's do
great,
it.
that's also fine. We're going to talk about it. So
Mm.
it's worth talking about. So I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, Mason. Thank you for all that you do too. You put out a lot of great
Yeah.
content. Guys, there's so many great episodes. Like I've learned so many gems and there's definitely light. There's definitely light for sure if you're going through like a rough patch for sure.
Appreciate you, man.
Mm.